Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining us on the most nectarian day of appearance of Lord Rama. The appearance of Lord Rama and Ram Katha, in one sense, is quite bewildering. And I just want to share a little experience of mine before we go into the details of Lord Ram's appearance. In southern India, very close to Rameshwaram, the Rameshwaram is actually quite famous, but very close to Rameshwaram, around 60 miles off the coast on the same side as Rameshwaram, an hour away from Rameshwaram, there is a place which is actually hidden, but very prominent and very special, very spiritually surcharged. Srila Radhanath Swami brings devotees for South India Yatra, and he does make it a destination as well. He goes there with the devotees. And what is so special about this place from my experience? What is very bewildering is that in that particular small village, which is on the shore of the ocean, there is a very special temple of Lord Sri Ram. It's very unusual. It is unusual because you never find Lord Sri Ram's deity prostrated. He's actually lying down. And he's lying down on a bed made of kusha grass. Everybody knows kusha grass. Kusha grass is also called darba grass. It is kusha grass in reality. It's the greenish colored grass. We use it for different aspects of our daily puja as well in terms of sitting on kusha grass. Now he is lying on a bed made of kusha grass. And the reason why saintly persons who are in the forest, who are engaging in austerities, they choose asanas, places to sit on kusha grass. They choose a bed of kusha grass. They choose all of this simply because kusha grass, from a mystical, metaphysical perspective, is supposed to produce detachment. Because if you're in the forest and you're performing austerities, there is a need for detachment. And the detachment is encouraged by an asana of kusha grass. It is encouraged by a bed made of kusha grass. That's why it was quite seen in scripture that they sit on kusha grass to begin yagyas. They sit on kusha grass to begin chanting of mantras because it produces detachment. It allows the mind and the senses to withdraw from the phenomenon of material creation easily, relatively easily. So what is unusual is that you find the deity of Lord Sri Ram lying on kusha grass, a bed made of kusha grass. It is unusual because it's bewildering. He is actually lying there in contemplation. He is contemplating how he could strategize and go over, cross the ocean to Lanka to redeem Mother Sita from Ravana. Now, why is it bewildering? It is bewildering because he is the supreme personality of Godhead. It's bewildering because he is lying on kusha grass as if he does not know what to do. He is lying on a bed of kusha grass, completely bewildered, as if in contemplation, because he does not know what to do. And when we watch that particular phenomenon, if you haven't received faith, either through family tradition, because families, in family tradition, if they worship Lord Sri Ram, they can give us faith. They may not be able to give us the intricacies of his appearance, but they can give us faith, yeah, to whatever extent they can. So if you have not been exposed to Lord Sri Ram through family tradition, if you have not been given instructions by the Guru, if you have not come in touch with scripture, which has instructed us in terms of the glories of Lord Sri Ram, it would be bewildering to see him in contemplation, not knowing what to do in terms of redeeming his wife from the demons. It's bewildering. Why is it bewildering? Because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Srimad Bhagavatam, as we proceed from the first canto through the 10th canto, you would find that Lord Ram's appearance is being discussed in the 9th canto. His appearance is in the two-armed form. Yeah, he's a human being. He appears as a human being. He is two-armed. Krishna's pastimes are described in the subsequent canto, the 10th canto. From the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, you will notice that it is easy to accept God if he has multiple arms and he has weapons in each arm and he is extraordinarily fierce. It is easy to accept Lord Narasimhadev as God. Why? Because he doesn't waste his time. He is not sitting down, he's not lying down in contemplation on how he could annihilate the demons. He comes out of a pillar, he tears apart Hiranyakashipu. It takes some time for him to do that in terms of him wanting to engage in that pastime. But there is no contemplation, there is no bewilderment. When you see him, we understand that yes, Lord Narasimhadev can be God, because he is exhibiting his opulence of power to the fullest extent from the word go. Yeah? When you see the deity form, you know he is God. He can be God, even for those who have not been initiated into the pastimes of Lord Narasimhadev. When they see him, one can accept the fact that this can be the personality of Godhead. Why so? Because he's exhibiting his opulence. But then, as we get closer and closer to Krishna, Krishna's pastimes as a two-armed little boy bewildered the creator, Lord Brahma. Why? Because he is not displaying the opulence of Bhagavan. That's why it is very confidential. It is very difficult and very confidential to understand Lord Sri Ram's activities on the planet. So is the case with Krishna, because they appeared in the human form. And their activities, completely transcendental, can bewilder one who is not initiated. When I use the word initiated, I'm not talking about the process. I am talking about the act of receiving faith into the heart by coming in touch with one who is in authority. If one is not faithful, one has not received faith from those who are faithful, then it's very bewildering to come in touch with Lord Ram's appearance. It's bewildering because you will find him in situations which would make you question his appearance. Why would the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose very breath, inward breath, dissolves creation, whose exhalation recreates all the universes in the world, why would such a personality of Godhead lie down on a bed of grass as if he is a helpless human being contemplating the crossing of an ocean? Why is it even more bewildering? It's bewildering because in the preceding canto, in the 8th canto, you find the same personality of Godhead as Lord Vamana raising his foot and covering the universes. He covers the entire creation with his foot. This is Trivikrama. He comes as a dwarf, he bewilders the asuras, he confuses them, he cheats them, and then he completely covers the universe with his steps. This is Lord Vamana in the 8th canto. In the seventh canto, you have Lord Narasimhadev appearing with multiple arms with weapons, destroying the host of demons. Not just one demon, the entire host of demons. It's Hiranyakashipu and everybody else. So when it comes to the ninth canto and you're reading about Sri Ram, if we have not proceeded in sequence as given by our acharyas in Srimad Bhagavatam, coming directly to the ninth canto would bewilder us and would not impress us. Why so? Because we are attracted to the opulences of the Lord. As a consequence, we wouldn't be as impressed, and we would even start thinking, why would he be so helpless? This bewilderment is not unusual. If we are bewildered, it's not unusual. Lord Brahma was bewildered by Krishna. Lord Indra was bewildered by Krishna. They were bewildered. They couldn't believe that this was their boss. They couldn't believe that Krishna, in his two-armed little boy in Vrindavan, was in reality their boss. They couldn't comprehend the fact because it's very confidential tattva. The truth is very complicated when the Lord's form becomes simple to manifest. When Krishna and Lord Ram's pastimes are simple, the truth about the pastimes, the tattva behind the pastimes, is very bewildering. The more simple the personality of Godhead is, the greater the bewilderment. There will be great bewilderment when one watches Krishna and his pastimes, simply because it's simple. As Krishna becomes simple, his activities become complex. As Krishna becomes simple, his activities become very complex. As Lord's appearance becomes simple, his activities are very complex. It's not very easy to understand the appearance of the Supreme Person when he appears in a human form, and he also acts in the way he does, like a human being, completely bewildered. Contemplating. What is the need for contemplation? Would he not know what to do? This is what is bewildering. That deity form is actually quite bewildering when you see it. It's actually an extraordinary temple. It's an extraordinary place. What is so significant about that place is that that's where Lord Sri Ram came in touch with his ancestors. Dashrath Maharaj and the other ancestors of Lord Sri Ram, everybody appeared and gave him their blessings to win over Ravana. So he received the blessings of his ancestors. There's a very interesting deity of Lord Sri Hanuman in the same place. There's only one deity of Hanuman, and he's facing the ocean, the southern side. His face is extraordinarily fierce. You can see real anger in the eyes. This is before they cross the ocean. If you have faith, you could see real anger emanating from the deity because he's facing south. He wants to go. He wants to go and assist. He knows where to go. And then he's seeing his master lying in contemplation on blades of grass, very uncomfortable, very difficult to understand tattva. That's the reason why we need to approach the Bhagavad Gita for us to understand tattva before we go into understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, especially if they appear in uncomplicated forms. When I use the word uncomplicated, I'm talking about the human form, which is uncomplicated. One requires a lot of faith. It's easy if it's seen and it's believed that there's great opulence. It's difficult if it is not clearly visible. Pratyaksha. If the praman, or the proof of the opulence of the Lord is hidden, then we need deep faith. Faith has to be very deep to understand tattva if Krishna's appearance is uncomplicated. It's very simple. It's very difficult to understand his tattva as a cowherd boy in Vraja. Very difficult. Very difficult. What is so surprising? Of the four sampradayas, there is no mention of Srimati Radharani in any scripture other than the writings of those who follow Lord Chaitanya. Why so? Because it's very complicated. It's very confidential. So if you don't proceed from the first canto and receive faith at each and every step before you reach the ninth canto, because you're following Srimad Bhagavatam, and Srimad Bhagavatam being non-different from the personality of Godhead, non-different from Krishna, it's very difficult to understand Lord Sri Ram's pastimes unless you have proceeded in a sequential order. Or you should have come in touch with those who have received faith, who carry faith in their hearts and who have the ability to give faith by their speech. Because they carry faith, the sound vibration emanating from their mouths can give us faith. This is how faith was established in the hearts of disciples. The disciplic succession that starts from Srila Vyasadeva proceeded by sound vibration. He speaks, faith is established in the hearts of the disciple. The disciple speaks, faith is established in the hearts of his disciple. Faith is established by sound vibration, and it proceeds in a sequential order from top to bottom. Yeah? So that's how it is. Either you've come in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam, you've come in touch with someone with deep faith, or we basically have learned about this from family tradition. As a consequence, there's faith because we have seen our predecessors do this. So the father could have worshipped, the grandfather could have worshipped, they could have come in touch with Lord Ram's deity form in the family, their family could have worshipped. Then there's faith because there's family tradition. Otherwise, it's very bewildering. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, when we start talking about transcendental knowledge, which is the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there's a verse, and we need to understand this verse. What does it mean? The verse says, Janma karma chame divyam evam vekti tattvataha tektva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjunaha. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Why is Krishna even making this statement? One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities. Because it is not easy to know the transcendental nature of the appearance and activities of the Supreme Person. It's very bewildering, especially if it appears as if they are human beings. They come in the human form, in the two-arm form, it's very bewildering. That's why this statement is being made by Krishna in 4.9. He says very clearly that if you don't understand me through tattva, the word that's being used here is tattvataha. If you don't understand me through tattva, and what is tattva? Tattva means absolute truth. If you do not understand me from the perspective of absolute truth, if you don't understand me from the perspective of those who have seen these pastimes and have recorded these pastimes, those who see these pastimes have very deep faith. And when they see these pastimes and record these pastimes, that faith is ingrained in scripture. You do not need faith to believe that I am sitting and speaking to you, because you can hear my voice and you can see me. As a consequence, there is faith. You can observe it. If someone has seen the pastimes of Lord Sri Ram and they have recorded it, then their faith of actually seeing and coming in touch with the transcendental appearance is ingrained in the scriptures they write. When we receive instructions from such scriptures, their faith comes to us. That's why this is called tattva. This is absolute truth. It's absolute, not relative, not to be interpreted. Not to be interpreted. Not everybody can accept Lord Sri Ram as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do we see that? Yes, of course we see that. In different parts of India, there are people who can't believe that he is God. They are atheistic, but they also get bewildered. Very recently, because of the seclusion, the lockdown in India, the Indian government started rerunning Ramayana and Mahabharata. This did not start a transcendental discussion in social media. When they started rerunning Mahabharata and Ramayana, what really started was there were a lot of discussions on feminism, on how Mother Sita was ill-treated by Lord Sri Ram. This is bewildering. This is bewildering because this is transcendental tattva. If you don't receive it from faith, then there's a problem. We can't understand it. The truth is hidden, it's covered. It's not easily understood. So Krishna is making this statement that you can't, if you want to leave the planet, if you want to come to me in the spiritual sky, then you need to understand the nature of my transcendental activities. You need to understand tattva. You need to hear it from someone who has seen it. There has to be pratyaksha. There has to be a vision where someone has seen the truth. That's what we receive from the Valmiki Ramayana. Sage Valmiki, who received instructions from Sri Narad Muni, just as much as Srila Vyasadeva received instructions from Sri Narad Muni, was able to see the pastimes of the Lord. And as a consequence, he recorded the pastimes in the Sri Ramayana. When one receives the Sri Ramayana with faith, then the faith of Sri Valmiki Muni, that faith is not a faith. He directly saw it. That faith can come into our heart. So is the case when we receive instructions from the spiritual masters who have seen the truth, who have come in the lineage of Srila Vyasadeva. When we receive instructions from them, then faith that has been passed on from Srila Vyasadeva is in the heart of the spiritual master. It's been passed on by the disciplic succession. That is the reason why we say parampara. We use the word 434. Krishna then says 4.34. Tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. These self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. They have seen the truth. In 4.9, he says, you can only understand me through tattva. You have to understand me through tattva, which is the absolute truth, not relative interpretations of my pastimes. And then he says in 4.34, approach someone who has seen the truth. Where is the need for interpreting the words tattva darshinaha? Seeing the truth means they have literally seen the pastimes of the Lord. When in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we read about the appearance of Lord Narasimhadev. We read about the appearance of Lord Vamana. We read about the appearance of the various incarnations in the pastimes of the Lord here in Vraja. These pastimes have been recorded in the Srimad Bhagavatam because Srila Vyasadeva saw it. This is called Tattva Darshan. There is no need to add layers of confusion and interpret this. If we don't understand it literally as it is being presented, Tattva Darshan, then we would get bewildered as well. Srila Vyasadeva saw whatever he wrote. And when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, why is it so transformative? It is transformative because it carries the potency and the faith of Srila Vyasadeva. How strong is the faith of Srila Vyasadeva? It is not a matter of faith. He literally saw it. When you see things, you don't need faith. As a consequence, you literally are experiencing the vision and the pastimes of the Lord when you come in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the difference between Tattva Darshan and interpretations. When we receive faith through a disciplic succession and the faith establishes itself in our heart, then we have the ability and the opportunity to be able to understand confidential Tattva. Now let's understand Lord Sri Ram. Now in Goloka, which is the supreme planet, it is said that Ayodhya is just one step below Goloka. Yeah? Ayodhya is one step below Goloka. In other words, amongst the Vaikuntha planets, Ayodhya is one step below. Goloka is supreme. Yeah? And the reason is because the relationship of the devotee in Goloka is most confidential. There is absolutely no semblance of any form of covering in Goloka. The example given by the Acharyas in the 10th canto is when Sri Uddhava was sent by Krishna to Vrindavan, Sri Uddhava was coming into Vrindavan in a glorious chariot. This chariot was from Dwaraka. It was glorious because Uddhava was royalty. So he was traveling in a chariot, which was glorious. But our Acharyas are writing that when the chariot enters Vraja, it was sundown. it was sunset. And during that time, all the cows of Braja, they were returning home. The dust from the hooves of the cows covered over the glorious chariot of Uddhava. So the opulence of Dwaraka was covered by the dust of Vrindavan. The sweetness of Vrindavan covers over the dust of Dwaraka. So here in Vrindavan, the pastimes of the Lord are extraordinarily confidential because there is no display of opulence, which is basically seen even in Dwaraka. In Dwaraka, he resides as a king. Here, he does not. He is a village boy. He is a cowherd boy. He doesn't display his opulences here. All the opulences are covered over by his sweetness. So this is the most confidential spiritual realm, according to the opinion of our acharyas, because the Lord's pastimes here are most confidential. There is not even a semblance of opulence. He does not even show himself as God to the smallest dint here in Vrindavan. He does not. Here, the Brajvasis love him as a cowherd boy. He's one of them. His mother, Yashoda, has no realization that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His father, Nanda Maharaj, has no realization that he is God. Therefore, their love is Shuddha. It is pure. It's untainted by the opulence which is found in Dwaraka. Here, it's pure. Their love is pure. They have nothing but love for him. They have absolutely no knowledge of even his opulence beyond. They don't care. They just care about him. Here in Vraja. So when Mother Yashoda calls upon Krishna by his names, we call it Shuddhanam. Why is it called Shuddhanam? When the Brajvasis were fully realized they're calling upon Nam, it becomes Shuddhanam because it's not even covered over by the opulence of Dwaraka. This is Shuddhanam. So when there is rasa, relationship established in Vrindavan, it's most confidential because the tattva here is most confidential. Very confidential. You're not approaching God, you're approaching the absolute truth. God is the maintainer, creator, destroyer. Here you're approaching him in the absolute truth. Here he is a cowherd boy. He is Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. He is the origin of all other avatars. He is a cowherd boy. You're not approaching Godhead. You're approaching the absolute truth. That is the subject matter of Bhagavatam. Why is Srimad Bhagavatam the pinnacle, the most sublime truth? Because it crystallizes the Supreme Lord in his most confidential form as the absolute truth. It captures everything about him. If you walk away from here from Vrindavan to Dwaraka, then there are features about the Supreme Lord which would be missing. You can't really capture his sweetness because there the opulence would cover over. There's formality. So there is no formality in Vraja. That's why Vrindavan is most confidential. There is some formality in Dwaraka. Krishna definitely is treated as royalty. When you move to Ayodhya, there's great formality because he is the Supreme Personality of God and he is also a king. So there's great formality in the exchange between the Vasis, the Ayodhya Vasis and Lord Sri Ram. The rasa there is covered over by the opulence. You can't really approach a king. He comes as a king, so he's going to be extraordinarily powerful in his presence. So you can't really go near him and put your hands around his shoulder. Here, the cowherd boys, they put their arms around Krishna's shoulder. Sometimes they tell Krishna, Krishna, my feet are aching. Please, could you massage my feet? Krishna, carry me. Sometimes Krishna grabs foodstuff from the mouth of the cowherd boys and he starts eating them. Yeah? There is no formality in the loving exchange between the Supreme Person and his devotees here in Vraja. That's why this is most confidential tattva. That is the reason why Goloka, which encompasses the absolute truth in its fullest sense, is the highest planet. Because the rasa that flows here is the origin of rasa or relationship that flows in every other Vaikuntha planet. When it reaches the material sky, the same rasa becomes perverted. Yeah, there's no clarity on what it is. But the rasa that flows here in Vraja is the origin of rasa, which flows in every other Vaikuntha planet, but it is the origin. That is why Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. He is Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam because He is the most confidential representation of the absolute truth. Then in Ayodhya, he displays his opulence because he's a king. Now, who is Lord Sri Ram? Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, he never leaves Vrindavan. Because there should be no disturbance to the pastimes of the Supreme Lord in Vrindavan, the first expansion of Krishna is Balaram. Balaram expands as Sevaka Bhagavan. His mood and his heart is filled with service. This tattva, this very confidential truth about the appearance of Balaram, is seen in the Bhagavad Gita in 18.65. 18.65 is Manmanabhava Madbhakto Madhyajimam Namaskuru. What does it mean? If you are in love with Krishna, then you have the ability to serve him. But to serve him, you need surrender. 18.66, Sarvadharman Parityajya, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. There is no such thing as service without surrender. There is no such thing as surrender without love. So, Balaram, who is the first expansion of Krishna, is Sevaka Bhagavan. Why? Because his mood is to serve Krishna because he loves Krishna intensely. So there's great love. And when there's great love, there's complete surrender to fulfill the desires of the beloved. When you're completely surrendered and you want to fulfill the desires of the beloved, then your service is going to be good. But if your priorities interfere with the service of the beloved, then your surrender is not as good. Let's understand this. If there isn't complete surrender, there is no proper service. Surrender is not possible unless there's love. It's not possible. Why would anybody surrender to those whom they fear? And will they be able to serve those whom they fear properly? No. There is no service when there's fear. There's great service when there's love. And great service comes when there's love and there's surrender. That's why 18.65 and 18.66 is considered very confidential, hidden truths. This is hidden. Yeah, that's why Krishna says in 18.65, he says, this is most confidential, it is hidden. It is not openly available. He says, you can't surrender to me unless you love me. And if you don't love me, you can't serve me. So if Balaram, Lord Balaram, manifested himself purely for service, what is the extent of his love for Krishna? Unimaginable. He manifested himself purely for the objective of service. That is Sevaka Bhagavan. Lord Balaram manifests himself for the purpose of service. So Lord Balaram says, Krishna, you're enjoying your pastimes in Vraja. These are very confidential pastimes. You don't want to be disturbed. I will take care of everything else. So it is Balaram who leaves and expands into Lord Ram. This is Tattva. This is confidential Tattva. It is Lord Balaram who expands into Lord Sri Ram. It is the same Balaram who also becomes Lakshman, but that is in Bhav. What is the meaning? What is this confidentiality here? In the mood of a younger brother, it's Balaram, but the older brother in Tattva is the same as Lord Sri Ram. So Lord Ram is to be equated to Balaram, not Krishna. Lord Ram is to be equated to Balaram because it is the mood of Sri Balaram where he steps out of Vraja so that Krishna doesn't have to be disturbed. Krishna never leaves Vraja. Balaram expands, he becomes Mula Sankarshana, Maha Sankarshana, he becomes the three Purusha avatars, Karanodakashayi Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Shirodakashayi Vishnu, the super soul. These are all expansions of Lord Balaram. He expands then into the Gunavataras. He becomes Lord Shiva. Yeah, this is Balaram. These are his pastimes. So in reality, if you want to understand Tattva, the equation of Lord Sri Ram is with Balaram in Tattva. Now, the same Balaram, when he becomes Lord Sri Ram, expands into Lakshman as a younger brother. It is the same personality. But what is the mood of the younger brother? Here in Ayodhya, the mood of the younger brother is one of great servitorship. There is definitely a connection between Lakshman and Lord Sri Ram as brothers, but there's so much formality in the relationship because this is royalty. It's a royal household. There are certain ways in which you eat. There are certain ways in which you wear clothes. There are certain ways in which you speak. The interaction between Lakshman and Lord Sri Ram is actually extraordinarily constrained in the Ramayana. Why is it constrained? It's because Lakshman can't really have the exchange which he can in Vraja with Lord Sri Ram. He can't. The brotherly love, as exhibited in Ayodhya, is constrained by the fact that Lord Sri Ram is a king. Even though each of them would desire to exchange friendship, sakya, as brothers, they can't because there's a formality of being a king. People are surrounding them, they need to behave in a certain way. Lakshman has to have certain protocol in approaching. In Vraja, you will find that the interaction has no formality, but it becomes formal in Ayodhya. Now, what do we notice with Lakshman? Lakshman, especially, is very important for us because it is Lakshman's activity which provides us with an impetus and connects us to why we even speak about Lord Sri Ram in Lord Chaitanya's movement. Lord Chaitanya's movement is everything about Raja. It is about Krishna. It is about Srimati Radharani and Krishna. Why then are we celebrating Sri Ramanavami? Pay close attention to Lakshman, because that is a reason for us to basically focus. When Lord Sri Ram and Lakshman were on the planet, Lakshman exhibited the most extraordinary mode of service. Balaram's desire of being Sevaka Bhagavan was exhibited by Lakshman. Dasya, servitude, was exhibited by Lakshman to the fullest extent. This whole concept of dasa, dasanudas that we talk of in our circles of Gaudiya Vaishnavism did not come from Krishna's pastimes. Dasa, dasanudas came from the pastimes of Lord Sri Ram, especially the way Lord Sri Ram was served by Lakshman and Hanumanji. We learned Dasya Bhakti from Hanumanji and Lakshman. Otherwise, we do not have much to work on in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, especially though of the activities of Krishna here, because here, this activity of Krishna with his devotees is called Vishramba. He does not see his devotees as being superior or inferior. They're all on the same platform. The cowherd boys do not look at Krishna and say Krishna is God. They think he's one of them. So how do you exhibit servitude if you think God is the same as you? If you start thinking that someone sitting next to you is the same as you, why would you want to serve them? So this concept of service was not understood by the pastimes of Krishna. It was understood by the servitude displayed by Lakshman. So Sri Ramayana, where Lakshman's glories are sung, where he did not sleep, forget about eating, he did not do anything. He was basically 100% focused. In the entire Vanvas, the 14-year period of exile, Lakshman did not want to even sleep. He wanted to serve. So servitude and Dasya Bhakti of being a servant of the servant of the servant was displayed by Hanumanji and Lakshman. That is where we receive inspiration. Without that inspiration, we would not have the concept of Dasya Bhakti to discuss. That is where we receive our inspiration. Why is it important for us in Gaudiya Vaishnavism? It is because Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he appeared 500 years back, he appeared and he took on a very formal stance. He was very formal. He was a sannyasi. And his strictness was very, very, very formal. He was extraordinarily strict with his dealings with those who surrounded him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very strict. If we did not understand Dasya Bhakti, it would be very difficult to approach Mahaprabhu. Very, very difficult to approach Mahaprabhu if you did not understand Dasya Bhakti. So one has to learn Dasya Bhakti from the Ramayana, from Lakshman, from Sri Hanumanji. Then one has the ability to develop the mood of Dasa Dasanu Das so that we could approach Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu displayed the six-armed form of Shadbhuj. He displayed and he showed this form to more than one devotee. There are many, many accounts. I do not want to go into the details because then gets more complicated. But there are many accounts in many different, Gaur lila scriptures which talk about the appearance of Shadbhuj to different devotees. Shadbhuja means six-armed form. There's Lord Chaitanya in the form of a sannyasi with a danda and a kamandalu, the water pot and a sannyasi stick. That is two arms. Then there is Lord Sri Ram with a bow and an arrow, two arms. Then there's Krishna holding the flute with both his hands. So these are six-armed form. So when Lord Chaitanya appears in a six-armed form, why is he displaying that he is Lord Sri Ram? This happened with many devotees. He displays that he is Lord Sri Ram to help us understand that you cannot approach him. You cannot approach Krishna directly. You cannot approach Krishna directly. You need to understand Dasya Bhakti. You need to understand the mood of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, especially seen in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's Dasya Bhakti. One devotee is falling over themselves. They're going head over heels trying to serve the other. This Dasya Bhakti is seen in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This comes from the mood of Lakshman. Why does it come from the mood of Lakshman? This is very confidential, but this is basically also seen in the Shadbhuj Rupa. Why does it come from the mood of Lakshman? It is because Lord Nityananda, when he sees Lord Chaitanya, it is said in the Adi Lila that Lord Chaitanya displayed many different forms to Lord Nityananda. When Lord Nityananda saw Lord Chaitanya with a bow and arrow, his internal mood transformed itself into Lakshman, because he could understand that the personality standing before him was Lord Sri Ram. So he internally became Lakshman. So in reality, the bhav of Sevaka Bhagwan, one who is serving, which is carried by Lord Nityananda, because he is Balaram, internally he becomes Lakshman. And what does Lakshman do? He does not rest when he's being given orders. Lord Chaitanya could not order Lord Nityananda because Lord Nityananda was older than him. In fact, there is an instance where Vyas Puja is being performed because he's a spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya goes to great lengths to establish the position of Lord Nityananda. But Lord Nityananda, when he sees Lord Chaitanya with the bow and arrow, internally he transforms himself into Lakshman. This allows him to receive instructions from Lord Chaitanya. Go and preach my holy names. Let my holy names be spread around the world in every town and village. This instruction that's being given to Lord Nityananda and captured in the heart of Lord Nityananda is being captured in the mood of Lakshman, Dasya Bhakti. What does Lord Nityananda do? He takes it into his heart, and this is his life and soul. He goes and knocks on every door in Bengal, and he begs people to chant the holy name because that's been ordered by Lord Chaitanya. Lord Nityananda also carries the entire Kripa Shakti of Lord Chaitanya upon himself. He wants to give mercy. But there's Dasya. Internally, there's the mood of servitude. Without that mood of servitude, he goes and he knocks on the door. What does he do? He falls on the feet of those who open the door, requesting them to chant Harinam. He literally falls on their feet. This is Dasya Bhakti. This mood would not be there in Lord Nityananda if he would just be Balaram. This is the mood of Lakshman. He has received an order from his master. He wants to implement it. He will go to great lengths to introduce this. When we really want to follow in the footsteps of Lord Nityananda, we need to develop a keen sense of Dasya Bhakti. Please understand that we can do no service unless we receive mercy from Lord Nityananda. Without receiving mercy from Lord Nityananda and engaging in the mood of being a servant of the servant of the servant, we cannot approach Lord Gauranga. And if you cannot approach Lord Gauranga, you can forget about Sri Sri Radha Shyam Sundar. There's no question of approaching the divine couple without Lord Gauranga's mercy, because we have no qualification whatsoever to be a part of this movement. There's nothing that we bring which can qualify us. to be a part of this great movement. Whatever is being given is mercy. So our entire sadhana and the practice of bhakti that we do here is to position ourselves as beggars. This is a position. We have to beg. And if you don't know how to beg, then we're learning how to beg through sadhana bhakti. That's what we're trying to do. The mood of being a servant of the servant, as displayed by Lord Nityananda, comes from Ramayana. It comes from the mood of Lakshman, who couldn't even sleep because he wants to serve. It comes from the cooperation seen in the Ramayana. Extraordinary cooperation is seen. So now going back to my first statements about seeing Lord Sri Ram lying on blades of grass, contemplating on crossing the ocean, could he not have just stepped into Lanka? He could have, because in the preceding canto, in the 8th canto, he covered the entire creation with his lotus feet as Vamana, as Trivikrama. He could have easily crossed over, but then he gives an opportunity for the monkeys, the bears, the others who want to serve him. He is giving them an opportunity for service. In a similar fashion, Lord Chaitanya could very easily distribute his name throughout the world in every town and village. He does not need us. But if we become a part of the mission of distributing Lord Chaitanya's names in every town and village, we receive the mercy of Lord Nityananda because we are aiding him in his service. But for us to be proper servants of Lord Nityananda, we need to develop Dasa Dasanudas, the attitude of being a Dasa Dasanudas amongst each other. As fellow servants, imagine Lord Nitai falling on the feet of the residents of Navadvip and begging them. It is also said that if they did not encourage him by chanting Harinam, he would just lament and roll on the floor of that particular home in great agony because he could not fulfill the desires of Lord Gauranga. This is the mood of Lakshman. Lakshman wouldn't even sleep. This is Dasya Bhakti. This is Dasa Dasanudas, where one considers themselves to be most fallen, most degraded. As a consequence, they have the ability to present themselves to everyone. This is the mood that we derive from Ramayana. If we don't develop the mood of Lakshman and we fall in line with Lord Nityananda's desire, then we don't receive mercy because we are not a part of the larger plan. You see, this is very important for us to understand. Lord Chaitanya has already spoken. He has already said, my names would be spread in every town and village. Since he has spoken, that is already done. It's over. If the Lord speaks, it's just a matter of time before everything will happen according to his speech. The opportunity that we have in our movement is to be a part of that mission. For us to be a part of this mission, please understand Dasya Bhakti. This comes from the mood of servitude that is displayed in the Ramayana. That comes from the extraordinary diligence which Lord Sri Ram displayed. The same level of strictness was displayed by Lord Gauranga. Lord Gauranga displayed the characteristics of Lord Sri Ram. He was extraordinarily strict with the ashram. He was sannyasi, he was very strict. Very, very strict, practically unapproachable. Very strict. This is the mood of Lord Sri Ram because there is Maryada. There is Maryada Purushottama. So there is certain code of conduct of what you need to do in a specific ashram, specific varna. Lord Chaitanya displayed the code of conduct very strictly. Very, very strictly. So if we want to approach Lord Gauranga, then we need to develop the mood of Lord Nityananda. Without Lord Nityananda's mood, we can't approach Lord Gauranga. The mood of Lord Nityananda is seen in his mood of service because he is Sevaka Bhagavan and he displays the Sevaka Bhagavan attitude in fullest sense in the Ramayana, especially in the area of Dasya Bhakti. It's not very easy to understand his mood when you look at Vraja Bhakti. You can't see Balaram, fully understand Balaram in Vraja Bhakti. Vraja Bhakti is actually very difficult to understand. It's very confidential tattva. In Ramayana, you can understand Dasya Bhakti very clearly. What is the meaning of Das? Das means surrender. When the master is sleeping, you are awake. Because we do not know what service is required. When the master is awake, you are awake. Lakshman didn't sleep for 14 years. This is the experience of many servants of Srila Prabhupada. You can read about it in the Lilamrita as well. When Srila Prabhupada was resting, they would rest. But they would also have other things. They need to catch up with their rounds, they need to catch up with their reading, they need to catch up with their personal activities. So this is called surrender. You can't really have any freedom. There is no such thing as, I have my agenda, I have my plans. Krishna, you need to come after the fact. No, that's no surrender there. Surrender means Krishna comes first, and then everything else has to fit in with the program of Krishna. That is surrender. And that is being displayed by Lakshman. When the mood of Lakshman goes into Lord Nityananda, then he takes on the service of distributing Nam. If we want to play a role in understanding Lord Gauranga, we need to play the role of Lord Nityananda, which is to play the role of Lakshman, which is to practically be inspired by Dasya Bhakti as displayed by Lakshman. This is the essence of the Shadbhuj Rupa, the six-arm form of Lord Chaitanya, where he's showing himself as Lord Ram, particularly means that if you don't understand how to serve Lord Sri Ram has to be served like Lakshman served him. Dasa Dasa no Das, complete surrender. Surrender born out of love. Surrender born out of love. Then we can't approach Lord Gauranga. If we surrender developing love and we serve Lord Gauranga, just as Sri Lakshman did, then we have an opportunity to receive mercy so that we could serve the divine couple. So the transition from being a servant of Lord Gauranga to being a servant of divine couple is dependent on the mercy of Lord Gauranga. To receive the mercy of Lord Gauranga, one needs to understand Dasya Bhakti from the perspective of the devotees in the Ramayana. How to serve is shown in the Ramayana. No sleeping. This is how Lakshman used to serve. This mood was taken by Lord Nityananda. We wouldn't have any idea of Dasya Bhakti if not for the display of Lakshman's Dasya to Lord Ram. That's the extreme level. But he is the Sevaka Bhagwan. So one needs to understand that Ramayana for us is extraordinarily important. The worship of Lord Sri Ram and the glorification of Lord Sri Ram is extraordinarily important because his pastimes inspire us to serve Lord Gauranga. Okay? And because of this particular pastime of Lord Sri Ram, we have an opportunity to serve Lord Gauranga, and we also have an opportunity to basically serve Lord Gauranga and then receive the opportunity to serve the divine couple. I'm not sure as to how much time we have. If someone could just, I think we have a few minutes. I'm going to stop here. So we went on a journey. We first went to the southern part of India. We spoke about the fact that as the personality of Godhead displays simpler human-like pastimes, it gets very complicated to understand them. We spoke about the fact about the complication of tattva. We need faith to come from a source which has had a direct experience. So when we come in touch with the Ramayana from Sri Valmiki, because he has seen the pastimes of the Lord, then he has the ability to give us faith exactly as we would want it. So is the case with Srimad Bhagavatam. Everything in Srimad Bhagavatam was witnessed by Sri Vyasadeva. And because it was witnessed by Sri Vyasadeva, we are able to have faith. It is recorded, it carries great potency, but it's non-different from the Lord because it is the truth, it's the absolute truth. We spoke about the mood of Lord Nityananda in the context of serving Lord Gauranga and our needing to understand that mood. We also spoke about the six-arm form of Lord Gauranga, especially the two-arm form of Lord Sri Ram, where he's telling us that there is a certain code of conduct which is required for us to approach him. The code of conduct is to be a dasa dasa anudas. The more and more we imbibe the lessons of Sri Ramayana, the greater the opportunity for us to be able to serve Lord Chaitanya. There are other areas of inspiration that one can draw from Sri Ramayana and from the Shadbhuj Rupa, but given the limited amount of time, I just wanted to share a few details which would allow us to appreciate the appearance of Lord Sri Ram in the context of being a devotee of Lord Gauranga. And also to be able to appreciate that without this, there's no question of approaching Lord Gauranga. And without approaching Lord Gauranga, there's no question of us being able to serve the divine couple. So I'll stop here and I will take some questions depending on how much time we have.
Hare Krishna Sri Vrindavan Prabhu, thank you so much for that amazing class. Definitely, I've taken away so much. I'd like to ask devotees to please raise their hand. There's a raise hand feature on the actual Zoom facility. So once you raise your hand, I'll ask you to ask your question. Thank you. Haribol. Also, you could use the chat box if you wanted to. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I don't know how to, I don't know.
Please
what
go ahead, Mataji.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful, amazing class, and especially, stressing on the point of Dasya Bhav. I just have one quick question. Like you mentioned that how Rama is not actually Krishna, he is Balaram. In one sense, yes, we do understand that how Balaram, when he expands into Chaturvyuha, then all those four personalities comes as the four brothers, right? But how do we understand that why then Jayadev Goswami write Keshavadrita Rama Sharira? Because there he specifically mentioned that it's Krishna who came as Lord Ram. So if you can just explain that. Thank you so much.
Sure. See, basically, when we talk about the Dasavatar, we are establishing Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So we talk about Dashavatar, we are establishing Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam in practically every avatar. Keshavadrita for Narasimha Avatar, Keshavadrita for Varaha Avatar, for Buddha Avatar, everybody. Yeah. So what we are trying to say is we are establishing Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, but it is not so much a delineation where he is particularly has to mention Balaram's name or the quadruple expansion's name. He is describing the fact that it is Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. He is the origin. That is what is being displayed by Jayadev Goswami.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Just one last thing. Yes, Rama, we can take over that he can, it's just an expansion of like Balaram came as Rama, but definitely not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself.
Well, he is Krishna himself in the mood of Srimati Radharani, but he displays himself as Lord Sri Ram as well. He shows Lord Sri Ram, he shows the two-arm form. He shows this to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. There are others to whom he shows this. See, we have to take a step back before we understand this. The step back that we have to take is this is Tattva. In Tattva, we are trying to understand the expansions of the Lord. We are trying to understand the rasa, the how he moves from one particular expansion to the other. But there's also Bhav, for example. So we notice that normally we talk about the Seva Bhav coming from Lakshman as Lakshman being an expansion of Balaram. And Lakshman being disinterested in the way he was serving Ram without the intimate interactions. That is the reason why he then becomes, removes all the obstacles in serving Lord Sri Ram in the Krishna avatar. So we literally are going from Lord Sri Ram becoming Krishna. This is the opinion of Acharyas as well. So what we're trying to say is that in one sense, we want to understand Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam from the perspective of Tattva. In other sense, we also want to understand Bhava, which is the interaction based on a certain relationship. So these are two things that can coexist in harmony. It does not contradict anything at all. That is the point I was just wanting to emphasize. Yeah. So we would always find contradictions if we start looking at it from the perspective of how we understand the human race. That if one person expands it to another, then they can't be something else. But then if you start understanding it as Tattva, they are basically explaining a certain concept. And that concept of complexity of the avatar is Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, and then the next is Balaram, and then Balaram carries the mood of formality into Dwaraka, and from there into Ayodhya, into the different Vishnu forms, etc. That becomes a little bit easier to understand. So there's Tattva, and then there's Bhav, because otherwise it can become a little bit confusing.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for clarifying it, and thank you for your association and your valuable time. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Srivindavan Prabhu. There's another question from Nitai Kirtan Prabhu. He's asking, you mentioned that we should put Krishna first, everything later. What does that mean practically? Does that just mean doing our rounds and deity service, etc.?
It essentially means, in one sense, the answer is yes. It essentially means that you have to position yourself in such a way that you're able to reinforce and work on establishing the identity of being Krishna's servant first. See, how do we develop a sense of duty? How do we develop a sense of duty? First, an identity has to be established. Then there's dharma of the identity. So first, the identity of a father is established. Then there's dharma on what a father ought to be doing in relationship to the children. Identity of a husband or wife is established. Then you start understanding what to do in that particular relationship, because dharma follows identity. In a similar fashion, what we are trying to do is to reinforce, reiterate, and strengthen and bolster the identity of being Krishna's servant. Without establishing the identity and investing in that identity to the fullest extent, we would not know how to serve him, because the dharma of that identity would not be revealed fully. So the whole process of sadhana bhakti is for us to be able to bolster our identity in relationship to Krishna. Bolster our identity in relationship to Krishna. So as a consequence, we invest in association with like-minded devotees. We dress in a certain way. We eat in a certain way. We spend time in a certain way. All of this is contributing to bolstering, strengthening, and laying out a foundation of an identity of being Krishna's servant. So in that sense, yes. So when you start saying that my identity of being your servant is foremost, that's where I'm going to put my maximum effort into, then everything else would fall in place. That's what we mean by saying keeping Krishna in the center. So can you clarify why Mother Sita had to prove herself? There's a question that comes here, the next, from Sushil Sharma. Why did she have to prove herself? Proving herself is to just show us very clearly that the importance and the emphasis on chastity is being enforced. If you notice, two of our most important epics, Sri Ramayana and Sri Mahabharata, are both centered on women. In the Mahabharata, the humiliation of Sri Draupadi, the humiliation of Draupadi caused the complete destruction of the Kaurava race. In the Ramayana, we notice the humiliation and the abduction of Mother Sita caused the destruction of the Asuras and their entire race. So there's great emphasis on behavioral aspects on both sides. It is. There's absolutely no need for Mother Sita to prove her chastity, especially to Lord Sri Ram. But there is a need to basically go through that particular process, because there are small-minded people who would question her chastity, which is exactly what happened subsequently. The residents of Ayodhya said, oh, we were not there when Mother Sita walked through the fire. We were not there. So we doubt her. And it is also to emphasize that if Mother Sita, crossing a particular circumstance and putting herself into a situation which she couldn't help, caused such distress and such doubt, it is also to emphasize basically the need for a great focus on the ensuring that women are protected, and also for understanding the whole essence of what the idea of chastity means. There was such emphasis. They did not just make it a one-sided thing. They basically wanted to show that a woman can be put into a test. And this was millions of years back. And this was the goddess of fortune. This is Mahalakshmi herself. Mother Sita was likened to, her chastity was like fire. That is why she could enter fire and be unharmed. Her chastity was like fire. completely pure, where her chastity was like fire. She could enter into fire because her chastity and her purity was like fire, completely unsullied. There's no question of anything coming in touch. But she had to prove herself. So there are 2 points which are being made here. First point is on chastity. The second point is protection of women and how we treat women. There's nothing more dangerous than ill treatment of women, old men, which is invalid, older men, women, both, and children. This is being shown in both our epics. The power to destroy Ravana came from the misdeeds that he committed towards Mother Sita. Monkeys who crossed the ocean to destroy Ravana, they received power because his forces became so weak by his sinful reactions. His forces, his soldiers became weak because of the sinful reactions of Ravana. This is the conclusion of Shastra. Otherwise, a monkey would not be able to fight with a demon. Demons are very powerful. Crafty, demons are very powerful. They had all kinds of mystic powers. They all lost their battle because Ravana committed an atrocity towards a woman. This battle was lost because he crossed the line with a woman. So the emphasis which is being given in both the scriptures is that there's this whole concept of lust, if it is not controlled, can destroy. That's the emphasis which is also being given. It can destroy very powerful people. Both Ravana and the Kauravas were extraordinarily powerful, but they crossed the line when they humiliated Mother Draupadi, they humiliated Mother Sita. They crossed the line. That was it. All their opulences were destroyed. There was a generational shift. Practically no one was left to carry the corpses. This is what the scriptures talk about. There was a generational shift. There was absolutely no one left even to carry the corpses. So that's the emphasis of scripture. So because there would be questions on chastity of Mother Sita and this and that, she had to walk through fire. Because she had the same propensity as fire, there was no question of her not being pure. Her purity is compared to that being of a fire. It's fiery by nature. That's why she could walk into fire and come out. Nothing happened to her. So this is being talked of. This is being emphasized here. Many things are being learned through the Ramayana. Then there's another question. It is mentioned that Lord Lakshman and Sri Hanuman are the examples of servant of the servant. Lord Lakshman and Sri Hanuman served Lord Rama directly. Could you please clarify? Servant of the servant. Okay, so how do you serve being a servant of the servant? Basically, the mood of servant of the servant is carried forward by Hanumanji and by Lakshman. And the question is, they served Lord Ram directly. So how do you derive any inspiration from them in terms of serving them, serving in a humble fashion? So the mood of servitude and the ability to serve comes from Sri Hanuman and Sri Lakshman. Now, Lakshman is Sankarshana. He had complete capacity to destroy anything and everything because by nature, amongst the quadruple forms, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Niruddha, whenever you see there is a battle, it is Sankarshana. It is Sankarshana. If you find Lord Sri Ram with a bow and arrow on the battlefield, it is Sankarshana Rupa. Amongst the quadruple forms, he's performing the role of Sankarshana. When he's seated with Mother Sita, it's Vasudev. There are different tattvas involved in deity forms when they act. So the point I'm trying to make is Lakshman himself could have practically ended the battle. Hanumanji could have ended the battle. But in their mood, there was a mood of service where they were completely dependent on Lord Sri Ram. Not for a moment did they ever think that they had any capacity themselves. So this mood of being a dasa dasanu das comes when you make some advancement in spiritual life. When we advance in spiritual life, then we realize that what's being given to us is so significant that we are not qualified whatsoever to receive it. That is where humility comes naturally for those who are advanced, because they have received something so special that they realize that they could never have qualified for it. In a similar fashion, Sri Hanumanji and Lakshman, even though respectively fully capable of destroying Ravana's army, in their hearts they were completely dependent on Ram Nam. They were completely dependent on the potency of the name of Lord Shri Ram. So that is the reason where we derive the whole concept of Dasa Dasa Anudas from there. Hanumanji was a great inspiration for Lakshman. Lakshman was a great inspiration for Hanumanji. This is the opinion which you see in discussions in the Ramayana. Great inspiration, because they carried the name of the Lord in their hearts. So the complete faith of Lakshman was on the name of Lord Shri Ram. Complete faith was on the blessing of Lord Shri Ram. Even though he was Sankarshana himself, he could destroy the entire creation if he had to. But he had that particular mood of Dasa Dasa Anudas. So as you make spiritual advancement, you develop humility, because you understand that what's being given to us in the expression or the association of the Supreme Lord and his devotees, we're completely insignificant. We could never qualify for it. There's nothing. Please just take one message from here. Tonight, in this particular class, just take one message and it'll make us extraordinarily successful. There's nothing that we can do to qualify for what Lord Chaitanya is giving us. Please take this message to heart. There's nothing we can do that can qualify us. The only thing that we can do is to position ourselves to receive mercy. And that is the whole objective of sadhana bhakti, where we find a spiritual master, we surrender, and we position ourselves so that we receive mercy through the disciplic succession. This was exemplified by Lakshman and Sri Hanumanji. They depended on Ram Nam. Could you give the scriptural reference for your statement, Lord Shri Ram is an expansion of Balaram, please, Prabhu? The scriptural statement basically is on Tattva. These descriptions are given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. You can find it in Bhagavatam as well. I can post it later in the Bhagavatam group if you're a part of it. Is there any other question or comment one would like to pass?
Hare Krishna, are there any more questions? Rishabh, are you there?
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Sri Vrindavan Prabhu. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending Prabhu's class. I just wanted to just let everyone know that in Vrindavan, it's actually past midnight now. And Sri Vrindavan Prabhu agreed to do the class, even though it's this late. So thank you so much, Sri Vrindavan Prabhu, for staying up this late. I know you're up early. In the next 2-3 hours, you'll be up again. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and the nectar with us. So I'd like to say a big thank you and a big Hari Bol. I'd like to everyone to contribute to this. Thank you, Shivan Abru. Hari Bol.
Wish everybody a very happy Sri Ram Navami, and wish everybody a very safe year ahead. What is interesting is I was just reflecting on this, and I was thinking that our normal day-to-day interactions are so caught up with social media, WhatsApps, and whatever else we use for communicating with each other, that say 3-4 months back, one would have said that our lifestyles have become quite impersonal because we don't really get together. It's largely through WhatsApp, instant messages, instant gratification, immediate replies, etc., and so on. But now Krishna has distanced us by force. We are all supposed to not come together so that we can fully appreciate what it is to be together. Yeah. So I think the reflection is that we would be able to appreciate the Sunday feast when it happens next. We would be able to appreciate the home programs when they happen next. We would be able to appreciate travel. We would be able to appreciate the fact that there's so much uncertainty, but Lord Gauranga has made so many wonderful arrangements that we have the ability to, have conversations about the glories of the Lord. There's so much uncertainty today, but there's something nice about what we're going through, even though it's actually quite dismal from a material perspective. What is nice is that this kind of intensity of circumstances surrounding us, which are challenging in every which way, health, economics, gives us a perspective. We basically can unclutter our lives in circumstances such as this and reprioritize them, because nothing else makes sense. If you notice, there's nothing else which makes sense. You wake up in the morning and the only thing you know that you're supposed to do what you need to do for your guru. And when that particular mood comes in and we can hold on to it, then that definitely is a foundation for success. And we also want to understand this. As devotees, we do not want to cover down and spend time in fear, even though circumstances are quite fearful. We don't need to cover down and actually look at the circumstances in fear. We need to understand that even before anything could transpire in our lives, it has to pass through Krishna and his servants. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a particular verse, I forget, which talks about a thin line of cooperation that exists between the devotees, Krishna, and the demigods. If the kleshas and the challenges that we're going through at this time, economic, health-wise, uncertainty, this is basically Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik klesha. It's all put together. Between these kleshas, which are enforced by the devas and by other entities, there's Krishna's protection. And Krishna is with us through the bead bag. Krishna is with us with Srimad Bhagavatam. He is with us, such as the Sangha that we had now, because we glorified him. So we should always understand that for us, we are interacting with Krishna, and then Krishna interacts with material nature. We don't directly interact with material nature. We are interacting with Krishna through his spiritual nature, through Yoga Maya. It is a sambandha with Krishna. The whole idea is a sambandha with Krishna. Yeah, we are not interacting directly. So we should remember that when we are fearful, we should remember that in times of uncertainty, that yes, I'm going through something, but Krishna factor is also there. When two devotees are involved, we need to understand, even if there's a conflict, Krishna is there in between. Because both of them are dear to Krishna and they are dear to Lord Gauranga. Krishna is there. So we need to understand even devotee interactions with the fact that Krishna is there. When we go through uncertainty in life, we have to understand that yes, it is true that the economic future is uncertain. Yes, it is true that healthcare is uncertain. Yes, it is true that longevity is uncertain because we just don't know what's going to transpire. Yeah, we're not clear. But we also need to understand that Krishna is there. That's a very important consideration for us as devotees. If we don't bring in Krishna factor and understand things from the perspective of being a devotee of the Lord, then it's very easy for us to get overwhelmed, and then we would start prioritizing life based on material nature. And when you start prioritizing life based on material nature, there is no protection. There is no protection, because material nature by itself is just a matter of time when it gets destroyed. There is no protection. So we want to focus on our eternal life, also keeping things practical, and emphasize the sambandha that we have with Krishna and seek his protection. This is what we need to do. Yeah. So I just wanted to just share this because, yeah, we are in Vrindavan. I've never come across a circumstance where Radha Shyamsundar Mandir is closed. Radha Damodar is closed. All the mandirs are closed. This is surely a time which one would call inauspicious if one can't even go and have darshan of the deities in Vrindavan. There are services going on. There's puja going on. There are devotees who send me pictures from the different temples, the pujaris. There's service going on. But then this is certainly inauspicious if we can't really go and participate in darshan. We can't participate in Dham Seva. You can't walk from one place to the other without the policeman chasing you. This is highly inauspicious. So these are quite difficult times, but it allows you to appreciate what we already have been given. The next time when we come, we are fully appreciating of the fact that this is freedom. We don't know how long we have this freedom, so we're going to use each and every day to the best of our ability to serve Srila Prabhupada. So with this, I'll say good night. and wish you a very safe year ahead until we meet next. Hare Krishna. Thank you for allowing me to share the glories of Lord Sri Ram.
Thank you so much, Srivandam Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Happy Ram Navami.
Thank you.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.